Yes, we all make mistakes, but there was one mistake that I made as an entrepreneur that is costing me millions and millions of dollars to this day. So in this video, I will very candidly share with you one of my most painful business lessons to date. My name is Darius Lucas, and on this channel, we talk all things digital entrepreneurship, marketing, and copywriting. So if you want to be learning and growing together, don't forget to click like and subscribe. So this story starts back in Bali in 2017. So I'm slowly building my own language school, but I'm also working for this entrepreneur education company. And I often get to travel the world with them and interview entrepreneurs. And so life is looking pretty okay. And I'm kind of consumed by focusing on the job, and also because it's exciting, it's cool. And I had almost a family there, and also building my own little gig. Now, I think this is where I started laying the foundations for my biggest entrepreneurial mistake. That was that I kinda fell into something that we call a success trap. Because a success trap is much harder to get out of than failure. Now, I wasn't wildly successful at all. I was barely making a couple of thousand out of my own business. And the job that I had obviously was paying well, but at the same time, I wouldn't consider that being the top of the mountain. But in a sense, it gave me this very comfortable life and enough freedom and ability to live anywhere I wanted and just enjoy life. And obviously, when you are in your mid-20s, you want to kind of bum around the world and have fun and meet people and just enjoy it. Around the time, I had made a friend who I met at this entrepreneur conference. He's this entrepreneur who had his own e-commerce agency and was doing very well. And I shared with him that whilst I was building my own language school and I was working for this entrepreneur education company, my goal really was to build up my mentoring company where I wanted to work with entrepreneurs. I wanted to also run general therapy workshops. So I had this whole vision mapped out for myself. And so probably in the very first meeting, having more experience than me and being a bit more practical, he really laid out the plan for me. He really talked to me about how to build an online funnel, what products I should be creating, and how I would then advertise them on Facebook, what strategies best to follow, testing my funnels, how to actually film good ads and write ad copy, all of the things that I know very well today. But at that time, I listened to him and it really made sense. I think it was very valuable, but there was something that didn't quite click. And I really regret that it didn't quite click. And I had many conversations with this friend, but it was one of those periods or moments where somebody can tell you their lessons and they can give you their strategies, but until you had enough experience, you wouldn't get it. Like, even though it's explained in plain English, it's not complicated at all, but you just do not have it in you yet in order to execute it. And I really thought I did, but there were a few things that really prevented me from taking my friend's advice, acting on it, and really understanding it viscerally. So I'd like to share what those things were in order that you would also see what possibly is currently preventing you from success and what inner blocks or just simply what's going on around you that is stopping you from hitting that next level in your career, in your work, in your projects. Because now looking back, I'm really regretting it, because if I had started back in 2017 with what my friend had told me to do, I would have leveraged the fact that Facebook's algorithm was still super easy to use. And I would have leveraged the fact that people in certain markets were not yet as tired of certain offers. However, the time has passed, I failed, and I lost millions of dollars as a result of it. But let's look at what actually happened that caused me to make that mistake. Number one, I hadn't yet built my language school to 6 figures. This is very important. Whilst now I talk to you guys and I share the fact that yes, I made this mistake. I wasn't able to take on the advice of my friend. At the same time, I know that the reason why I'm able to execute now so well, why I can have a team of 12, 13, 14 people, the reason why I can run multiple projects at the same time is because I had built up that business to 6 figures. And that experience of building that business up to this level allowed me to understand what I need to become in order to be able to be executing these projects. So essentially, I wasn't at the point yet to build up my own mentoring company because I hadn't built my first business. And although that first business that I had built is in the niche that is not as possibly profitable, but I had managed to build up a business and it is working well, and I've built up my team, and I become the person who understands how businesses are run. I think I morphed and changed in the process radically. So if you're listening to me right now, I would encourage you to ask yourself, what are you not seeing right now that you have to learn? What are the lessons or the things that you're not yet getting and you possibly are getting annoyed about that are probably setting you up for that next level to which you're gonna go up once you crack those lessons? Reason number 2, what led me to that mistake, was that I stayed in very dysfunctional relationships. In those years, I didn't quite understand my patterns that I had in relationships, but I would seek out partners with whom I would create a very dysfunctional dynamic. And I would be really consumed by a romantic relationship to an extent that there was no time or energy left to build a business, because all of the time and energy went into something that was never going to work. And here I had to spend quite a bit of time working with therapists and other professionals in order to overcome that pattern so that I would never again get into that type of relationship, because that wasn't good for my career. And today I have a lovely, healthy, loving relationship that allows me to be who I am and that allows me to show up and be strong in my businesses, because my relationship is just one aspect of my life, but it doesn't drain me anymore. It just gives me energy. And number 3, I didn't have a permanent home. What I mean by that is that I was a nomad to an extent that I would be always on the move. I would have only 2 luggages with me. I literally was living everywhere and nowhere at the same time. And I think that was the thing that really prevented my progress. And for me to be able to take on what my friend was then saying and implement it into a business, I had to be in one place for long enough in order to have my routine, show up at my laptop every day at a regular hour, spend enough time developing that business idea. And the fact that I was cavorting around the world definitely didn't help. Now, does it mean that you can't be a nomad and build a business at the same time? Definitely not. And as I've shared in my stories, I have been building businesses on the road. And even now, actually, I'm in Italy and I've been here for 3 months, and I had spent another 3 months in Portugal, and I'll be sort of still moving around. However, what I'm saying is that if you are a scattermind and have sort of scatterbrain like I do, it's very helpful to have some stability and some routine. If you are unable to create that for yourself while on the road, it's really beneficial to be in one place. And in my case, not only that I didn't have a permanent home, on top of that, I had a dysfunctional relationship. So those 2 sort of pieces that are very important to a human being, for me, were up in the air. So I needed that grounding in order to be able to sort of calm down and start really focusing on what I wanted to build. Reason number 4, lack of resources. Now that I had built up my language school and my other businesses, I suddenly had the resources to invest into team, into knowledge. I'm able to go and get advice. For example, I decide to build out a quiz, so I am able to go and hire a quiz specialist to coach me through the process. And those resources I didn't have back then. So for me, it was very difficult to launch something into a bigger market and burn money with Facebook ads when I couldn't afford it. And nowadays I'm ready to do that. And I've set up myself and the business in the way that my business A can now fund my business B. And I think this is where the freedom comes from, because I'm no longer sort of thinking I have to make this work because I'm going to lose money or whatever. I'm able to think, this is my investment. I'm testing out this market. I'm testing out this project. I'm working with this person to see if we can make this business work. And that ability had only come from building up my business A. So recently I caught up with a friend of mine and I told him, you know what, today I realized I lost millions of dollars because of you. And he looked at me a bit paranoid and he was like, what do you mean? And I said, well, it's because of what you said to me in 2018. Had I only implemented that back then, but I said also I do understand why I hadn't done it. And then he of course laughed. But regardless to the fact that the markets have changed and all those things somehow progressed and evolved, I think my evolution at this point kind of equals and measures up to whatever is happening out there. So as soon as I started sort of breaking down and crushing those blocks that I talked about, it was as if another level of understanding had just entered my consciousness. It was as if almost my character had changed. Suddenly, I woke up with a sense of clarity, precision, insight, ability to structure myself, ability to understand how I'm structuring my team and grow my team. And then suddenly I found myself in these meetings with lawyers and accountants and all these like legal people and understanding what was going on. I mean, I was really starting to fix everything in the way that had to be fixed. And I started running everything in my life as a true business owner, as a true leader. I think I wouldn't have been able to get to this place had I not worked through those blocks. So this was my story for today, how I might have lost millions and millions of dollars, but at the same time in the process, I became a much better, happier, and I hope smarter person. I'd love to know what are the biggest obstacles and challenges right now that you're going through that you think that once you overcome them, they would catapult you to the next level. So drop down your answers in the comment section below. And of course, if you want to hear more of my stories, how I built up my businesses, here are some videos that are coming up. And I'll see you in the next video.